really groovy for St. Paddy's Day. Music from, let's see what we got. All right. Oh, here we go. And, interesting.
You broke it, didn't you?
It sounds like a broken record. My lord, it's a broken record, and this is the Dropkick Murphys. I'm shipping up to Boston. We'll be right back on Monster Castle Paranormal. All right. right. I hope everybody's I hope everyone was doing a nice Irish hoedown with a beer in your hand while you're, you know.
Yeah. I spilled it all over my underwear.
Did you? Yeah, me too. All right. We got a question in the chat room. How many big, huge bands have come out of Ireland?
Well, and I've got an answer to that one.
Right.
All right. The top 10 Irish bands are Stiff Little Fingers, Dropkick Murphys, Flogging Molly, the Dubliners, the Cranberries.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The bananas.
I didn't know that.
Well, and My Bloody Valentine, they're a good band too, and
You too.
The
Rory
Pogues.
Gallagher and the Pogues, I guess.
Yeah, what's the other one? The
Van Morrison
Thin Lizzy.
and U2, yeah.
Oh, Thin Lizzy. That's the best.
Thin Lizzy. Oh God, what was it? Not Green. It wasn't Greenhouse. It was Hot House. Hot House Flowers.
Oh, they're a great band.
They're from Ireland, I think, right?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
And
because I remember the Pogues from way back in the day.
Yeah.
and Ellen Doherty, she's amazing too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Only she can't sing.
Oh yeah. What instruments does she play?
Yeah, they're not my own.
I heard that the fiddle comes from Ireland, right? The fiddle, does it not?
Yeah, but the traditional Irish fiddle. But then they say it comes from Ireland. But if it comes from Ireland, how come there's the classical violin as well, which is the very same instrument? But anyway, it's got nice music.
Maybe it's just the way that it's played. Yeah, I always wondered what's the difference between a fiddle and a violin. I think it's just, I'm not sure. It's the way it's just
There's no,
played.
I don't
Country
think
music,
difference.
country music stems from Irish folk music. I know that. In the,
Yeah.
in the States, when it was mostly Irish folk music, that's and that when it as the country
Yeah,
was
they all
young,
went
right?
over.
And then
Fiddles are smaller. That's from what I understand.
yeah, I think there is a difference.
Yeah.
But I'm not a fiddle player, and I've never actually. That's one instrument I have played around with, but I've never really. I've never had one to play, so I've messed around on them. They're really hard to
Yeah.
use a bow, but you
You
know,
gotta fiddle with them.
yeah, you fiddle.
Got to really?
He's a fiddler.
Oh, see, I thought James Cruz was bad with the puns, man. Oh, God.
Ellen, do you know much about St. Patrick?
Yeah, I know what we learned growing up. We learned all the bits and pieces as fact, and we believed them. So it's only now I'm learning that, they're not really as believable as I thought they were when I was growing up. So, were you going to ask me a question?
Well, I was just wondering. I was just reading here about St. Patrick. At the age of 16, he was captured by a group of Irish pirates, where they brought him to Ireland, where he was enslaved and held captive for 6 years.
Yeah.
And then the
They
Lord
brought
spoke to
him
him.
over, and they brought him over, and he had to. They put him minding sheep, because in those days they hadn't thought of penning them in, so these people used to mind them at night, and he was a minder, and he hated it. Would you blame him?
No, not at all.
And apparently he knew about Christianity, and by the way, it wasn't Catholic. He was just Christian in those days. But so he knew about Christianity, so he prayed. They prayed every night that he'd get home, and eventually he did.
Right, he didn't really believe until he was captive, and he was praying, and then he got like an internal locution.
When something happens, you'll pray like hell.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about Irish
it's an
folklore,
interesting story. I didn't know.
The everyone's familiar with the Blarney Stone.
Yes.
But what I didn't know until my Graham told me was that in order to kiss the Blarney Stone, you have to hang upside down.
Yes, you do. Backwards.
Oh, and back. I didn't know that part.
Yeah, backwards. And you have to climb up to the top of an old castle which is falling down. And it's quite dangerous. So you want to be fairly sure-footed. So when you get up there's usually a man to help you, because they have to do that nowadays. But when I went up years ago, there was no man to help. So you lie down, and backwards you kind of hang out of a hole, and the stone is down the hole, we'll say, but the hole is on the way to the outside of the castle, so you can see the ground on the outside. It's quite scary.
Yeah,
Holy
screw that.
But everybody, if you come to Ireland, you have to. That's a great thing to do.
No, I don't.
Yes,
No.
you do. The whole
No.
world knows about the Blarney Stone. How could you go home and the people will say to you, did you kiss the Blarney Stone? And you'd have to say no.
Yeah, no, I lived.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great, though. It's great. And Blarney's a great place.
Well, and they're known for what was it, Blarney's? They're known for what was they used to be a baking town or something, right? Is it I'm thinking of some other city that used to be like, they were known for like pastry shops or some bollocks like that.
Yeah, don't know. Haven't heard that. But Blarney is a very small place. Blarney is outside Cork City, and it's a trip away from the city. You can't walk to the Blarney Stone, and it's just a village. And they started to jump on the tourism bandwagon, and they built up their Irish shop. So they sell Bunion sweaters and top of the morning to you stickers and that kind of thing.
Now, as an Irish person, how much does that get on your nerves? Like,
something? It depends on how diddledy-idledy they make it. Because we do have a heritage, and we do have all these things. And in a lot of ways, it's fantastic that these things are celebrated worldwide, and a lot of these things are known worldwide. And a lot of there's a lot of tourism in Ireland, and we rely heavily on it. Mm-hmm. So when it gets too stupid, like when they start talking, the diddledy-idledy over the top, I get tired of it.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
And all in all, I'm very proud to be Irish, and I love being Irish. And we've brought a lot of things to the world. So from that point of view, we're proud.
Right. No doubt. I mean, I was just curious as to how you view it from, because you're on the inside looking out. So, whereas like the whole world's kind of like, oh, top of the morning to you, all that,
Yeah.
And so I wanted to know what you thought. I mean, Mike, look, if I'm like stepping on anybody's toes, just let me know.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
You can just
you're on a roll. You did great.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking earlier about, what mythical creatures to talk about, and you'd mentioned leprechauns.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this, but they're considered to be a fairy.
Yes, they are.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were kind of banished underground, or wasn't it a branch of the Little People, and they were banished, or they fell out and they went off and formed their own branch, and now we have leprechauns.
Yeah, it's like the son of Fergus or something, or...
That's right. Yeah. You know more than I do.
Well, I mean, somebody tells me to do research for a show, and, I don't play around.
Well, good for you.
And like I said, some of this I remember from Graham telling me, so it's, half of it's memory and the other half is research. But,
Yeah.
But now in Ireland, because Mike and I were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
What's like the most popular like myth, like, between like banshees and all that kind of stuff? Like, what's the, what are the stories you tell the kids to scare them at night?
Oh yeah, the banshee, yeah, and we have the bogeyman. But no, the banshee would be the most Irish one that we tell, and we still tell. And isn't it amazing what you'll get a child to believe?
Oh, I could go on, yeah.
Yeah.
Or even full-grown people will believe things. It's amazing.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Well, like the whole, what is it? Knock on wood, and all that other stuff that the superstitions that people have about breaking mirrors and
Yeah, so, and people still believe all that.
Oh boy.
Oh dear God, what are you doing?
Had an amazing life, and it's well documented. Are there any movies about St. Patrick?
No, I don't think so. They keep saying some of the huge American filmmakers like Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer and all them, they keep saying they're going to make some sort of a film about the Irish, one of the Irish tales, and apparently they can't decide which one, and they can't decide which one would be worthwhile. It's quite amazing because they make films about, parts of every culture. I don't think there's one about Ireland.
Well, St. Patrick had an amazing life.
There's one on, I looked on Google here, and there's one called St. Patrick, the Irish Legend, and it was a made-for-TV movie.
Oh.
With Malcolm McDowell, of all people.
Good for him.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but on Google, there's not a whole lot. There's that in My Wild Irish Rose from the 1940s.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Ellen, where do you live in Ireland?
Southeast, County Wexford.
Is that near a big city at all?
No, I grew up in Dublin, though. Does that count?
That counts. One of my favorite books ever was Angela's Ashes. Have you read that?
Oh yeah, yes, McCourt. I did read
Frank
that,
McCourt.
and I read the next one, which was Tis. Did you read that?
No.
It's a kind of a follow-on.
I started to, and then I got bored. It's just him teaching in America, kind of, right? But his brother wrote a book too. Malachi wrote a book.
Yeah, Malachi was over there. I think they all went over to America, didn't they? But you know what people hate about that? I mean, he was probably telling the truth, and he told the story of his childhood as he remembered it. But everybody's tired of, the poor mouth, and they never had anything. But I suppose if you're living it, that was your reality, and that's what he wrote about. He was a desperate man to drink. That whole family were desperate drinkers.
Yeah.
His father was a desperate drinker, and he was from the north.
Ellen, I got a question from the chat room here. Have you ever been to the Hill of Tara?
Oh, yeah. See, there's the Hill of Tara. Somebody has found that because that's where St. Patrick lit his fire. Yeah, so it has great significance. But yes, I have been to the Hill of Tara.
What did he do there?
He lit a fire. He lit a big fire, and that's where the kings used to sit. So he, obviously he went to the kings, and there was some hoo-ha. I think that's where they made him a bishop, but I'm not sure about that. But that's one of those mystical places in Ireland.
Is it? Am I mistaken? But did he not drive all the snakes out of Ireland?
Yeah, that's what they say he did. That's his biggest feat of achievement, yes. And then they proved that there were never snakes in Ireland.
Oh, interesting.
That's a bunch of bunk.
Wow.
And the plot
Good old
thickens.
St. Patrick. We credit him with it all.
Well, I mean, but that's kind of, that you can't prove it wrong, though. There's not any snakes now. Well, there weren't any snakes before. Well, how would you know?
Yeah.
You could, see?
Yeah.
That's pretty sneaky. That's pretty clever. I like that.
Yeah, very sneaky.
Were there a lot of Christians in Ireland before he got there?
No, we were all heathens. You wouldn't believe the things we got up to. He had to come over and straighten us all out. Nobody knew who their father was. Nobody knew who their father was till St. Patrick came along.
And it was
You're being sarcastic.
Catholicism, right?
I'm not being sarcastic. Apparently the Celts were awful, horrific, promiscuous people.
Well, yeah, because they were
Really?
nomadic, correct?
Yeah, no, they weren't nomadic. They had wattle and daub structures, and they put down roots because there were kings in every village, and they all fought amongst each other. Apparently, they couldn't group properly. They all wanted to be kings.
I see.
And they were fighting and debauchery,
Yeah, they did.
and
All that.
that's real.
Yeah, that's real.
And what happened after he left? After he came and went? How did it change?
he made us be monogamous, and one man, one woman, and he put a stop to all the debauchery, and we had to behave like Christians.
There you go.
See? And that's what we did. Yeah.
Lordy, lordy, lordy.
Yeah, can you imagine? How did he go around Ireland all those years ago and make everybody conform? It's an incredible feat, isn't it?
It really is. I've never really looked into it much.
Yeah, the Irish must have been tame people, really, at the back of it all.
What is okay? There's somebody's okay. That's Joseph from Spreaker. Not Spreaker. I mean Twitter is asking. He had an Irish armor friend with the last name Darcy. She said equals the Dark Ones of Ireland. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Anybody know?
Black Irish.
Oh, Ellen?
Yeah, because Black Irish are the Irish who are dark hair and dark eyes, right?
Oh, the Dark Ones. I get it.
I think Gordon knows more about Ireland than I do.
Wow.
Thank you, I think. I do.
No, yes, it's a compliment.
I added you on my Twitter, by the way, because I find this whole conversation fascinating. I always love to learn new things, and I'm learning tons of new things.
Good.
Awesome sauce on a spoon.
On a stick.
Ellen, is the weather in Ireland as bad as they made it seem in Angela's Ashes? Just a lot of rain in the winter, kind of like the Northwest in America?
Yeah. Do you know what? If you were in a house that was badly heated, or one of those houses where the McCourts lived, yeah, it would be, because there's a lot of rain over there, and it would have been freezing. So
is it a lot worse on the West Coast than the East Coast?
Yes, a lot more rain.
Yeah, very dark, very gray, depressing.
Yeah, it is, and but it is. But that's only in your head. You've got to look in and find some spark within yourself. But I was in Limerick lots of times a couple of years ago because my son was down there in college, and I thought of McCourt a lot because those lanes that he talks about, the lanes of Limerick, they're all still there, and they're in the city centre. And the people will, if you ask somebody for directions, they'll say to you, just go down any of the lanes and you'll get there. They still call them the lanes of Limerick.
What are they like?
And they have what?
Are they just like they were before?
No, because I know they've put shops and everything on them. But there's a McCourt school. There's a when they do up a house to look like it would have done in the time of McCourt, they've done that, and that's interesting. I've been there. I like that.
So it's changed a little bit for the better.
Oh yeah, it has. It is a city.
Good.
So,
I want to go there. I have a friend that lives over there.
It's interesting, and they have a great ghost walk in Limerick.
Really?
Oh yeah, which reminds me. Before we go to break here, I got a really groovy song for you guys, and before we go, I'd like to tell everyone if you haven't heard Ellen before, that she runs a haunted hotel getaway company, I guess.
Booking engine.
Yeah, that for it's called Mysterious Holidays, and you can get maybe go ahead, Ellen. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a booking engine. It's the only Irish booking engine for haunted attractions in Ireland. So, but we're going further. So if anybody would like to come on board and let me take their bookings, very happy to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. And now we're going to have a short break, ladies and gentlemen. And this is... Let's see.
Pissing me off.
This is Flogging Molly. And I think y'all know what this means.
Sick and tired of me reeking of gin. Lock all the doors
drunk. Pour my beer down the sink. I've got more in the trunk. Fuck you, I'm drunk. Fuck you, I'm drunk. And I'm going to be drunk till the next time I'm drunk.
Get off that stage.
All right, everybody, like, we're back, and I just had another shot of whiskey, but I'm okay. I can still drive. I'll be okay. Yeah. Okay. And there's one rule tonight, is then you can only call in if you're drunk. That is the rule.
2 drink minimum.
Yeah. Anyone could call in. It's 775-990-8447. I will post it in the chat rooms. And if you want to call in, the only rule tonight about calling is you must be slightly smashed.
Inebriated.
Please call, everybody. Quick call. Just make a quick call. Ask Ellen a question.
Yeah, and
Call on in.
I think that's hilarious. Like that's my rule for St. Patty's Day from now on. You got to be drunk to call in.
Yep.
And we'll see what happens here. I'm going to post
kidding me?
this.
You got to be drunk to listen to this show.
Oh.
Thank you.
Wow.
Good night. I'm playing all week.
Oh, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Okay, Ellen.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, like, about one of the haunted locations that your guests like to go to there in Ireland?
Yeah. One of them, the one nearest to me, is Loftus Hall in County Wexford. It's the most haunted house in Ireland. And we all grew up on stories of the devil and how he burst out through the roof when he was discovered. And people come from all over the world to see that house. It's incredible. So they have a haunted tour, and they bring people down and bring them around the house and scare them with stories. And the tour changes at Halloween and at Christmas. You know, those types of times, they ramp it up a bit, and they have actors and people dressed up, and it's great. It's a really good day, and you can go down there, and they're right on a peninsula called the Hook Peninsula, and they have the sea on both sides, and they have their own personal beach, which is small, but it's there, and so you can go and spend the whole afternoon there if you like. It's a great place.
Groovy.
Oh, and they have paranormal lockdowns.
Isn't that's where the
what?
devil's foot came through their ceiling or something?
No,
Or
it's
that's a
where the
different place.
devil went through the roof.
Yeah.
Will I tell you the story?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, of course.
One story. Now, this is an old house in Ireland, so it was the only big house in the area. Everybody else had thatched houses if they were lucky, or other people lived in ditches. And this was a huge, big old house called Loftus Hall. So 200 years ago, they were very wealthy, and it was a stormy night, and there was a shipwreck down further. And this stranger, tall, dark, handsome stranger, arrived on a horse, knocking at the door. And the family of the house were sitting around the table playing cards, and the stranger arrived, and they brought him in because he was well dressed and well spoken. They were very enamored of him, and he was brought in and made welcome. And the daughter, Anne, who you can imagine was living in a remote area, young person, dying for some excitement, fell in love with this stranger. So he stayed there and was welcomed, and everything was going great, and she was just head over heels in love with this man. So a few nights later, they were playing cards again. I suppose they spent a lot of time playing cards in the winter. He dropped a card, or somebody at the table dropped a card, and a few people bent down to pick up the card. And when they bent down, they saw that he had the cloven foot, which was the sign of the devil. It was like a goat's foot. So as soon as he was discovered, he just shot up through the roof and out the roof, and that was the end of him. And poor Lady Mary went berserk, and she became deranged, and she spent the rest of her life living in a room in the house. She never came out. And that was the end of it. But the house is extremely haunted. There's ghosts and spirits and stories everywhere in that house. Great place.
What is the best story from a guest that you've had come there?
Well, they're all scared. Some people won't go in. Some people they buy their tickets and they just, they don't go in. The best story, well, I know, do you know what? The guides are fantastic. There's an introduction done by one of the owners. He's one of the Quigleys. Well, he is just outstanding. It's the entertainment value of it. It's not that they come out with stories. They do a really good show down there. And you know what they have in that house. In that house, which was built so long ago, they have a staircase. I'll tell you about the house in a few minutes, but they have a staircase. And there were 2 other staircases just like it in the world. One of them was in the Vatican, one was in Loftus Hall, and the third one was on the Titanic.
What kind of staircase was it?
That's creepy.
Yeah, so that's down there. What was it? Oh,
is
yeah, the
it
house.
A spiral staircase? What is it?
Loftus Hall was just an old house. It was owned by the Loftus family.
What was the staircase like that made it unusual?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's a big, wide staircase. It's about 10 feet wide, and it's got big sweeping. It branches into 2 on the first floor, so it goes off to the left and off to the right. It's lovely. It's just a lovely old staircase.
Is that the one that's in the movie Titanic? At the beginning and the end, where they show the staircase?
Yeah, I suppose it is. It must be.
Oh,
but
wow.
that would have been a set. When the nuns owned the house about 70 or 80 years ago, and they had a school down there, and apparently they used to polish this staircase and polish because the nuns were very hard working, and every day they polished it with wax. So when the people who own the house now bought the place, the roof was off. And the rain was pouring in onto these stairs, but they're perfectly preserved. And they credit that to the nuns who did all the polishing.
Well, now Loftus Hall, that's okay. I'm trying to remember because it's Tottenham, right? From the 1600s.
The Tottenham family.
Tottenham. Yeah. Because it was like the daughter went insane.
Yeah.
What is
that
it?
Was Lady Anne?
Yeah, Lady Anne. She went insane and she locked herself in the tapestry room.
Yeah, and she never came out. So you can see the tapestry room.
Oh wow! Wow.
And the people who own it now, when they bought it, obviously that big hole was in the roof, and they fixed the roof. But things happen in that house. They fixed up the electrical connections in it, and they put lights, and they rewired everything. But the bulbs just keep blowing. They blow. They keep putting them back, and they'll blow, and they put them back, and they blow. And they call the electrician, and the electrician looks, and he says there's nothing wrong, but the bulbs just keep blowing. And apparently there's some place in the roof and they can't fix it.
Well, for the benefit of those who aren't familiar with the legend, it's the Tottenham family. How do you pronounce it again?
Tottenham.
Yep. They had they granted shelter to some I don't know,
stranger. He was a stranger. Yeah. Shipwreck.
And the daughter Anne fell in love with him.
Yeah.
And the father had him killed. And she went insane because she was still in love with him. And she's supposed to be the ghost that still haunts the place, right?
Oh, yeah, that could be. But there's loads of ghosts, apparently.
Oh, okay, because that's the only story I ever heard of it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's loads of ghosts. They have a story at the bottom of the stairs. Do you know, I'm just going to go back a little bit to when I was young. When I was young, I lived in Dublin, so I used to come down here because I have family down here. So I started going out with my husband-to-be. That was a hotel at the time, and we used to go down there, and we used to, you'd go in for a drink or whatever you were going to do, and we walked over this hallway, and I never looked left or right. I never looked down at my feet, nothing. But when you go on the tour, you'll hear all about the hallway. It is magnificent. It was done with ceramic tiles. They were tiny and they were all put together by hand, which would have been an awful lot of work in that time. When you're on the tour, you learn that the Loftus family who owned the house by then, not the Tottenhams, would have, they got word that the Queen was coming. So the Queen was Queen Victoria from the UK, because the UK were over Ireland at the time. So they wanted to show their wealth, and they were determined to, make a spectacular splash for the Queen, and they were going to invite her down to Loftus. So they went into desperate debt, like millions and millions in today's money of debt, to make a magnificent house. And they did up the house perfectly. But this hallway was spectacular. They got these two brothers over from Italy who were very good with ceramic, and they did the tiles. And the story goes that at the end, when they had finished their work, the family never wanted anybody else to have such a beautiful hallway, and they cut off their hands. But I've lost my train of thought. I was telling you.
Oh, they cut off their hand.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Cool.
No, they were very cruel.
Man.
I have forgotten what I was going to tell you. I was
okay.
getting
We do that
somewhere.
all the time on our show. You fit right in.
Well, I did ask
Wish
you.
Dennis was here.
I'm glad that you did, because I did too, and so did Darren. We drank too much tonight. Way too much.
You told me to. That's what I did. No, it's St. Patty's
now, Ellen,
Day.
how did you get involved in doing this though?
Well, I was always interested, and that's the story I grew up on. And then anything to do with spirituality or ghosts or that type of thing always grabbed me. So when a friend of mine approached me about 3 or 4 years ago and said, we're going to make a website, and why don't we go around and gather up all the haunted attractions and bring them all together so there's one place. I said, yeah, love to do that. So we got on the road, we got in the car, we started talking to people, and that's how it all came together. And we got the website up, and here we are.
And Bob's your uncle.
Bob's uncle. And it's enjoyable. I love it.
Well, have you had any personal experiences with ghosts, while doing these tours, or
yeah, well, yeah. Do you know something? Sometimes I believe I see something, and then sometimes my better brain takes over, and I say no, I don't see anything, because half and half. I want to believe that I've seen something, and the other half of me doesn't want to think about it, because if you started thinking about it too much, you mightn't go outside the house at all.
Right.
So while I'm interested in it, I find it scary too.
Well, what about your guests that you take on the tours? Have they reported anything, or have any pictures, or? Yeah,
now going back to Loftus Hall, because I know an awful lot about Loftus Hall. There was somebody was on a tour. He was from England, and he took a picture outside. You're not allowed to take a picture of the inside of the house. So he was taking a picture outside. And when he developed the picture, he could see a young girl in the doorway. And he put it online, and that went all over the world. And a newspaper in Australia took up the story, and that picture went everywhere. So that's only a small example. There'd be lots of other bits and pieces that I wouldn't hear about. But people will always tell you that, I was in the tapestry room and I saw the curtains moving, and it couldn't have been anything else because the door was closed and the window was closed and there was definitely something there. Or they'll tell you they felt air in a certain place, at the back of their necks. And sometimes people believe these things because they want to, or they read into a situation, but maybe it's their belief, or maybe they did see something. Who knows?
Ellen?
Wow.
Yep.
How did you get interested in ghosts?
Maybe it's being Celtic, listening to stories when I was young. I was always interested. I remember hearing when I was young that a pig is the worst type of ghost. A pig, if you see a ghost of a pig, that's got an omen attached to it. It's always a bad omen.
Ooh, that's creepy.
I've never heard that
pig.
before.
Remember,
Yeah.
that reminds me of Amityville Horror, Jody the Pig.
Isn't it supposed to be like if you see the ghost of a pig, it's like a curse on your house?
Yeah, there's some very bad happening about to happen you if you see a ghost of a pig.
Huh.
Well, maybe that just means that the family next to you had a good pork dinner.
Yeah. Who knows?
Well, if that's the
The
case,
ghost
I
of the
see
pig be
Donald
kinda
Trump all the
bland.
time.
I wonder
Well-
if anyone could do an impression of a pig ghost while they're drunk. If anyone can do a drunk ghost pig impression, please call in.
Please call.
Now,
Please call
that's
us.
not fair
Adam, what
because
did you say?
everybody could do a Donald Trump impression.
Oh,
Oh, thank you.
all right. Yeah.
I'm playing all week.
There we go. Hang on.
Ain't that special?
There you go.
Ellen,
Ellen, what do
Ellen?
you think of the new president of the United States, Donald Trump?
Oh my God. Right. When you ask me for my personal opinion, and I have no right to comment on American politics, but
yeah.
outside the States, during his campaign, the world, I think, the world watched with its mouth open. And for a long time, we all believed it could never happen. American people are not stupid. They will never elect him. And I know Hillary Clinton was not popular. I got that impression from everybody. And I know it was believed that they were corrupt. But the thing about her in her favor is that she knows the game. She knows the game of politics. And every country needs a strong leader. So you had Hillary Clinton and you had Donald Trump. Who's the strong leader? Who's got leadership qualities? Donald Trump and his Twitter account. It was a laughing stock. And the minute he was elected, which was a shock in itself, but the minute he was elected, I said to myself, that's the end of Twitter. Has he not got advisors? Does the man not understand that he's the most powerful man in the free world? He needs to rein himself in, and he's got to carry himself with a certain amount of presidential whatnot. I'm just without words when it comes to him, and this ban on Muslims and Muslim countries. How far is he going to go with that?
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny because, speaking in terms of Ireland, there was similar problems with Northern and Southern Ireland where there was that whole separation. And, that's kind of how the IRA came to be, right? Or the NRA. NRA.
No, the IRA. They want a united. They did want a united Ireland. They still want a united Ireland.
Right. So it's like now the United States is going through something similar, because you have the people who are for and then you have the people who are against. And it's, I just think it's a matter of, it's just a matter of time in between our version of, a Bloody Sunday, like Ireland had, what was it, 79 or 80 where there was that bombing. So, I don't even have any words to describe how stupid he is. I'm not saying like kill the stupid people. I'm just saying remove all the warning labels and let nature take its course.
Yeah, I would be surprised now, and I don't live over there, and I only get secondhand news that's reported on Irish news, which is different. But I just can't see him running his full term.
Well, you get news via BBC, right?
No, we get Irish news, RTE.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.